What's up everyone? In today's video I wanted to share 8 dieting tips with you that will not only make dieting much easier for you, but also help you maintain as much muscle mass as possible and therefore diet in a more efficient manner. Now, the first 2 tips are gonna revolve around training, because this is the crucial part where it comes to maintaining as much lean tissue as possible. The first thing I want you to focus on, and I can't stress this enough, is that you have to maintain your strength, or try your hardest to maintain your strength. Now what I want you to do is take the last week of you bulking, write down the reps and sets you did, the exact rep schemes. So let's say on Monday you did 5 sets of 5 of squats with 225. On Wednesday you did a 3x3 rep scheme with 315. On Friday you did, let's say, 4 sets of 10 with 150 pounds. I want you to keep following this protocol for the rest of your diet. Now this functions especially well if you're dieting for short periods of time, so if you're doing a mini cut of, let's say, 6 weeks. So I went from 86 kilograms down to 76 kilograms, which is a loss of 22 pounds of body weight, while maintaining every single rep, just because I was following the same protocol throughout the whole cut. Now why is this important? It's just because it allows you to keep monitoring your progress in a much more efficient way. You're gonna know exactly if you're, let's say, getting, instead of 5 sets of 5, on the last set you only got 3 reps. This is a clear sign that you lost strength and that you're doing something wrong. I mean, of course you're gonna eventually, especially if you're contest prepping, lose some strength, but it should really be your #1 priority to try to hit the same amount of reps for the same amount of sets. So keep your training exactly the same. Which brings me to the next point: training frequency. You want to keep your training frequency high, just because you are signaling your body. If you're training the muscle groups multiple times a week, you're signaling your body to keep that muscle mass, because you have to understand that your body is very efficient in getting rid of things that it doesn't need. And by training a muscle group more frequently, not only are you elevating and keeping your protein synthesis elevated through more time during the week, but you're also more frequently sending the signal to your body to keep your muscle mass, because you're actually using them. The next tip on the list is don't cut out all the foods that you usually like to eat when starting your diet. Most people make this mistake, and the problem is that you're gonna develop cravings pretty quickly. So if you're used to eating like hamburgers or pizza, and I don't mean like hamburgers for McDonald's, but your regular stuff, just foods that you like to eat, like spaghetti or so, if you're cutting them all out and only eating like chicken, broccoli and rice, all of a sudden you're gonna develop these cravings pretty quickly, and most people will then start to cheat on their diet. Now what I want you to do is take the foods that you like and incorporate them, just in moderation. So let's say during your bulk you were on 3000 calories. You could afford to eat, let's say, a couple of hamburgers. What I want you to do is keep them still in, but just in moderation. So reduce the amount. Just don't cut out all the food types that you like. So instead of eating 3 hamburgers like during your bulk, eat 1 of them. And this will help you prevent cravings from happening, and you're less likely to cheat on your diet. Next up, I want to recommend you some food items that, for the purpose of this video, I want to call diet foods, just because they're usually very high in protein, very low in carbs, high in fiber, and have almost 0 fat. The #1 being vegetables, and especially food items like broccoli, spinach, green beans, cauliflower. Now, just because they're very low in calories but very high in fiber, that will not only satiate you pretty quickly, but they will also keep you full for long periods of time, because it takes your body a lot of effort and time to digest these food items. The next one being fat-free Greek yogurt. Fat-free Greek yogurt consists mainly out of the slow digesting protein casein. So it will digest much slower, and you will have a steady state of aminos releasing in your bloodstream, so it will keep you much fuller for longer per calorie compared to something like whey protein, which is very easy and fast digesting. Next up, we have potatoes. Now, studies have shown that per calorie, potatoes are the best carb source, or the most satiating carb source. I don't understand why people on like 150 grams of carbs are still eating white rice. You're gonna eat like a handful and this will already have like 70 grams of carbs. But rather switch to potatoes. There's so many different ways in how you can prepare them to make them tasty, and they're very satiating. And the last food item I would like to recommend to you are things like berries. So things like strawberries, which are so low in calories. Then also blackberries, raspberries. They have a ton of fiber, and they will go very well with your fat-free Greek yogurt. Now, this tip is very similar to the one that I already gave you, but it is slightly different. Now, let's say you like to eat pizza and hamburgers, but because you're dieting, you want to keep full and you don't have enough calories to play around with it, or to incorporate it, better said. So what you do is you take your favorite food items and you just substitute the ingredients. And I will have also a link to a video where I'm showing you how to make 250 calories delicious burgers. So let's say you're really craving burgers. So instead of going to McDonald's and getting like such a small burger for like 1,000 calories, what you do is you make it yourself, but you're substituting the ingredients. So instead of using regular ketchup, you're gonna use a low carb version of it. Instead of using regular mayonnaise, you're gonna use a low fat version. Instead of using regular buns, you're gonna use low carb buns, or Ezekiel bread instead. This way you can still enjoy the foods that you like, you're gonna prevent cravings from happening, and you're gonna be able to fit much more of it for the same amount of calories. Another thing that is crucial for you when dieting is to keep your protein intake high. Just because studies have shown that the higher protein intake tends to retain muscle mass much better when dieting. So me, for example, I'm usually a guy that keeps his protein pretty low, especially when bulking. So I'm not even on 1 gram per pound of body weight. I'm more on the, like, let's say 0.7 or 0.8 kind of side. But when dieting, I will increase it up to, let's say, 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. Just to be in the sure side that you're maintaining as much muscle mass as possible. And at the same time, just something that just came to mind to me is you can incorporate some BCAAs during training to also prevent muscle loss from happening. It isn't really something that you have to do, but if you have some extra money or you have some BCAAs left at the house, just feel free to incorporate them during training in order to help retain as much muscle mass as possible. So once again, keep your protein intake high. I would like to recommend some items that I like to call diet helpers, because they're gonna help you save a ton of calories. The first one being any kind of sweetener. I prefer stevia just because it has zero calories, the version I'm using, and it's a natural sweetener. You could also go with sucralose or aspartame if you want to. Next thing is something called flavor systems. I would recommend you the one from Supplement Union, just because I've tried a ton of different ones, and this brand just has the best flavors. This is basically a powder. You add like half a scoop to your fettered Greek yogurt, for example, add some sweetener, then also some berries, and there you go with a delicious dessert that is so low in calories. And otherwise, in order to flavor your fettered yogurt or just regular yogurt, you would have to add things like honey or 1 to 2 scoops of whey protein, which would then also add 200 or 300 calories on top of it. This way you can basically just leave this out and save a lot of calories. Another thing are flavor drops. They're just basically the same thing as the flavor system, just for liquids. So if you want to flavor things like your whey, your protein shake, or your coffee, or just your plain water, just to add some flavor and some taste to it. And yeah, so those 3 items are the ones that I would really recommend you, especially once your calories drop pretty low. And last but not least, I want to give you some tips on how to increase your TDEE, which is your total daily energy expenditure, without really noticing it. So first of all, for example, you're going to grocery shop. Instead of taking the car, you're gonna walk there, especially if the store is really near you. Then, when you're looking for a parking place, instead of parking right in front of the building, you're gonna park, let's say, half a block away. So this will add a couple hundred steps to your daily activity level without you really noticing it. Another thing is also, instead of using the escalator, you can use the stairs at your gym, at your workplace, at home. And then also what I like to do, especially this works really well with something like pizza. So instead of taking the whole pizza to your desk, what you do is you take 1 to 2 pieces at a time. This will force you to walk back and forth, and this will have 2 effects. First of all, you will be more satiated, just because your body needs around 15 to 20 minutes of you actually sitting down and eating before your stomach and also your brain will connect and send the signal that you're actually full and that you should now stop eating. It takes time, and so you will increase the time you're actually eating because you're walking back and forth, and at the same time it's adding steps to your total activity level. And this way you can increase, trust me, it might seem minor, but if you combine a couple of these effects and change a lot of things, it will make a big difference when you look at it through your whole day or even your whole week. But that's it for today's video. I hope you got something out of it, guys, but I'll see all of you in the next one. Germ Gains, peace out.